Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about anger and how to manage it. We're looking at this book, How to Control Your Anger Before It Controls You, by Albert Ellis and Raymond Tafrate.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good rating on Goodreads. 3.62 stars from like 318 ratings. So, people are interested in figuring out how to deal with anger.
Yeah, sure.
And honestly, who isn't? It's like we all experience anger.
Oh, absolutely.
But this book really emphasizes that it's not about, like, becoming some kind of emotionless being.
Right.
It's about learning to manage it so it doesn't manage us.
Yeah, it's not about just suppressing it or pretending it's not there.
Right, exactly.
It's about understanding where it comes from and, like, what it's trying to tell us.
And then figuring out, like, healthy ways to deal with it. So
Exactly.
you can actually use it to your advantage.
That's the idea.
Interesting.
Yeah, the book doesn't just tell you to calm down, you know? It really digs deep into the roots of anger. Like, both the destructive side that we all know about, like, how it can damage relationships and, all that stuff.
Right.
But also the surprising ways it can actually help us grow.
That's interesting because I honestly always thought of anger as like a purely negative emotion.
Well, think about it this way.
Yeah.
Like that feeling you get when someone cuts you off in traffic.
Oh, yeah?
Your heart's racing, your hands are gripping the wheel.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
That's your body's natural threat response kicking in.
Okay.
It's meant to, like, protect you.
Right.
But the problem is our brains often misinterpret everyday annoyances as, like, serious threats.
Oh, I see.
And that's when anger can become a problem.
So it's like our inner alarm system is a little too sensitive.
Yes.
It's going off for a stub toe the same way it would for like a real danger.
Yeah. And the book dives into two key sources of anger, psychological and physiological.
Okay.
So on the psychological side,
Yeah.
it's those rigid beliefs we hold.
Like what?
Like, people must respect me,
Yeah.
or things should always go my way.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely had those thoughts.
Right. These unrealistic expectations just set us up for disappointment and anger.
Because life doesn't always go as planned.
Exactly. It's inevitable.
Right.
And this ties into the book's rational emotive behavior therapy framework.
REB.
Yeah, REBT. Think of it as a way to, like, retrain your thinking
Yeah.
to be more flexible and less demanding.
So instead of getting all bent out of shape because the barista got my order wrong,
Right.
REBT would help me think like, okay, it's a minor inconvenience, no big deal.
Exactly. You're catching on.
I'm trying.
Now, on the physiological side, we have that fight or flight response.
Right.
It's a powerful physical reaction.
Yeah, I can feel it just thinking about it.
Adrenaline surges, cortisol levels spike, your heart rate increases, muscles tense up.
Wow.
Your body is primed for action,
Yeah.
whether that's confronting the threat or running away from it.
It's like our caveman ancestors facing down a saber-toothed tiger.
Right, except now the tiger might just be like a long line at the grocery store.
Or like a slow internet connection.
Exactly. And understanding that physical response is crucial for learning to manage anger.
So we got to recognize those physical signs and like find ways to calm our bodies down.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got these like internal beliefs and this physical response all tangled up in our anger.
Right. It's a complex system.
But why should we really care about taming this anger beast?
Good question.
Like, what's the big deal if we let it out sometimes?
Well, the book makes a really compelling case that unchecked anger has some serious consequences.
Like what?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
How many relationships have you seen crumble because of anger?
Ooh, a lot.
It erodes trust, creates tension, and ultimately pushes people away.
Yeah, it's like a poison that slowly seeps into everything, creating this toxic environment.
And it's not just our personal lives that suffer.
Right.
Think about the workplace.
Oh, yeah.
Anger can lead to strained relationships with colleagues, impulsive decisions, and even job loss.
Wow, so it really impacts both our personal and professional well-being.
Absolutely.
Are there any other areas where anger can wreak havoc?
Yeah, the book delves into the link between chronic anger and physical health problems,
Okay.
like hypertension, heart disease.
Seriously.
It even weakens your immune system.
I knew stress was bad for you,
Right.
but I didn't realize anger has such a direct impact on our physical health.
Yeah, it goes beyond just how we feel. It's impacting our bodies on a deeper level.
So we're not just hurting ourselves emotionally, we're hurting ourselves physically too.
Exactly.
Whoa.
And let's not forget the connection to mental health.
Oh, right.
Anger often goes hand in hand with depression and anxiety.
It's like a vicious cycle.
It is where one fuels the other.
Okay, you've convinced me unchecked.
Yeah.
Anger is bad news all around.
It's a beast that needs to be tamed.
So how do we start to get a handle on it? Where do we even begin?
Well, the book offers a ton of practical strategies,
Okay.
but it all starts with self-awareness. We need to understand our own anger patterns, what triggers us, and the thoughts that fuel our anger.
It's like figuring out the enemy's battle plan before you go to war.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Know your triggers, know yourself.
I like that.
And one of the most helpful tools is an anger journal.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
It's not just about venting, though.
Okay.
It's about becoming a detective of your own emotions.
Interesting.
You document situations where you felt anger,
Okay.
noting what happened, what you were thinking, how you felt physically, and how you reacted.
So you can start to see, like, the patterns?
Right. And identify those specific triggers that set you off.
Like, okay, every time my roommate leaves dirty dishes in the sink, I lose it.
Exactly. Maybe there's a connection there.
Right.
And it's not just about noticing the external events, it's about those internal thoughts and feelings, too.
Oh, okay.
That's where REBT comes in.
Okay, so how does that help?
It helps you identify those irrational beliefs.
Like, my roommate should be more considerate.
Yeah, and replace them with more flexible, realistic thoughts.
Like, it's
Right.
frustrating, but I can handle this.
Exactly. And this mental shift can dramatically change your emotional response.
So instead of fuming about how things should be, I can focus on how to actually address the situation calmly.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Now, what about those times when anger hits you like a ton of bricks?
Oh, yeah, those moments.
What can you do in the heat of the moment when you don't have time to journal or analyze your thoughts?
That's what I want to know.
That's where mindfulness techniques come in.
Okay, I've heard of mindfulness, but I don't really get it.
It's all about paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
Okay.
Noticing the physical sensations of anger, that tightness in your chest, the clenched jaw before they escalate into a full-blown outburst.
This is like hitting the pause button on that runaway train of anger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mindfulness gives you the space to choose a different response, to step back from the ledge before you jump.
I like that.
It puts you back in control.
Okay. This is already giving me some hope.
Good. There's more to come. We've covered self-awareness, REBT, and mindfulness.
That's right.
What other tools does this book offer for taming this anger beast?
So we left off talking about some of the tools in the book, like anger journals and stuff.
Yeah, it's one thing to understand, like, the theory behind all of this.
Right.
But, like, when you're actually in the middle of, like, a heated situation,
Yeah.
it's hard to remember all those techniques.
Totally. And that's where this book really shines.
Okay,
So it gives you like real life examples,
Oh, that's helpful.
case studies that show you how people actually use these techniques.
Okay, so, like, what? Give me a for instance.
Okay, so let's say you're dealing with a frustrating coworker, you know,
Oh, yeah, I know the type.
tensions are high, deadlines are looming. You're like one passive-aggressive email away from a full-blown meltdown.
Been there. So
Yeah.
what does the book suggest?
Well, there's this case study about a guy named Eric
Okay.
who's constantly butting heads with a colleague. He's always reacting impulsively, which just like fuels the fire.
Yeah.
You know, creates this toxic work environment.
Ugh, I've been there. It's so easy to let those little workplace annoyances get under your skin.
It is. And so how does Eric turn things around?
Yeah, what's his secret?
Well, he starts by like figuring out his triggers.
Okay.
He realizes that he gets particularly angry when he feels undervalued or disrespected.
Oh, yeah.
Like when his ideas get dismissed in meetings or his contributions aren't acknowledged.
Yeah, that's a big one for me, too. Feeling like your work isn't appreciated can be a major trigger.
Absolutely. And once Eric knows what sets him off, he can start using cognitive restructuring.
Cognitive restructuring.
Yeah, remember, that's where you challenge those automatic negative thoughts.
Right. Yeah.
So instead of assuming his colleague is intentionally trying to undermine him,
Okay.
he reminds himself that maybe they're just stressed or having a bad day.
Well, that's a good point.
He tries to give them the benefit of the doubt.
So he's taking a step back, choosing a more balanced perspective instead of jumping to conclusions.
Exactly. And does he use any other techniques?
Yeah, like, what else does he do?
He also starts using relaxation techniques,
Okay.
like deep breathing exercises before meetings.
To keep his cool?
Exactly. And he practices assertive communication, you know,
Okay.
learning to express his concerns and needs directly but respectfully.
So no more passive-aggressive emails.
Exactly.
I like it.
So it's a combination of things.
Yeah.
Understanding his triggers, shifting his
Right.
perspective, and then using those practical tools to stay calm and communicate effectively.
It's like a multi-pronged attack on the anger monster.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense for like work stuff.
Right.
But what about anger in personal relationships?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough one.
Because those emotions are way closer to the surface.
They are. The book actually has a case study about that, too.
Really?
Yeah, a woman named Maria
All right.
who struggles with anger outbursts during arguments with her partner.
We've all been there, right?
At some point.
Arguments with loved ones can be the toughest to navigate.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what do you think Maria's anger triggers are?
Well, based on my own experience, I'd say probably feeling misunderstood or unfairly criticized.
You nailed it. That's exactly what she discovers.
Oh, I.
Like when her partner dismisses her feelings or doesn't seem to be listening.
Yeah, I get that feeling unheard or invalidated by your partner is incredibly frustrating.
It is. So how does she tackle this?
I'm all ears.
Well, she uses that anger journal we talked about earlier to track her patterns and figure out what's really going on beneath the surface.
So she's doing that detective work.
Yeah, exactly.
What does she uncover?
She realizes that she often jumps to conclusions,
Okay.
thinking things like, he never listens to me, or he's always trying to make me feel bad.
Oh, those all or nothing thoughts are dangerous.
They really are. They just fuel her anger and make it harder to communicate effectively.
Yeah, they distort reality and escalate conflict, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So how does she reframe those beliefs?
She starts replacing them with more balanced and realistic thoughts.
Oh.
Instead of he never listens, she reminds herself, he may not always agree with me, but that doesn't mean he doesn't care. We can work towards understanding each other.
That's a much healthier perspective.
It is. It allows for nuance and opens the door for a productive conversation.
Instead of a shouting match.
Exactly. Does she use any other techniques to manage her anger during those heated arguments?
Tell me more.
She does. She incorporates deep breathing exercises.
Okay.
Just a few slow, deep breaths can really help break that anger cycle.
It's like those deep breaths create a little pocket of space.
Right.
A pause button.
Exactly.
That allows her to choose a more thoughtful response instead of just reacting impulsively.
I'm loving your analogies.
And I love that the book emphasizes assertive communication.
Yes.
It's about standing up for yourself without bulldozing the other person.
It's about finding that sweet spot between being passive and aggressive.
Totally. So we've got Eric and Maria who are using these techniques to manage their anger.
Right.
But their situations are pretty, like, every day, you know? What about people who are dealing with more serious chronic anger issues?
Oh, the book definitely addresses that.
Okay, good.
There's a really compelling story about a man named John
Lawyer?
who's battled anger since childhood.
Oh, wow.
He's got a lot of unresolved trauma.
That's heavy.
It is, and it's been affecting his relationships, his overall well-being.
That's so sad.
It is. But he decides to really commit to using the book's techniques.
Wow. So he's like all in.
He is. Cognitive restructuring behavioral strategies, self-care practices like meditation and exercise.
That's a lot.
Yeah, he doesn't expect a quick fix.
Right.
He understands this is a long-term process of healing and growth.
He's putting in the work both internally and externally. So what kind of results does he see?
Well, over time, those deeply ingrained irrational beliefs that have been fueling his anger for years, they start to loosen their grip.
That's amazing.
He learns to pause before reacting, to choose a more thoughtful response, instead of letting his anger dictate his behavior.
That's so inspiring. It shows that even long-standing anger issues can be addressed with commitment and the right tools.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder that change is possible no matter how deep those anger patterns run.
I'm feeling really hopeful now.
Me too.
Okay, so we've talked about the tools, the techniques, the real-life examples,
We've covered a lot.
but I have one more question.
Okay, shoot.
How do we make these changes stick?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, because it's so easy to fall back into old habits when things get tough.
It is. And the book actually dedicates an entire section to sustaining change,
It's perfect.
creating an anger-free life. It emphasizes that this isn't about a temporary fix.
Okay.
It's about an ongoing journey of self-discovery and growth.
So it's about making anger management a lifestyle, not just a quick fix.
You got it. So how do we integrate these anger management strategies into our daily lives?
Okay, so where do we even begin with making anger management a lifestyle?
Well, the book recommends starting small, Like, don't try to change everything at once.
Right.
Pick one or two techniques that really resonate with you
Okay.
and start incorporating them into your daily routine.
So instead of trying to become like a Zen master overnight,
Right.
maybe I just focus on like practicing deep breathing for 5 minutes each day.
Exactly. Small, consistent steps are key.
Okay.
It's like building any new habit.
Right.
Consistency is what makes it stick.
That makes sense.
What else?
Oh, and another important tip is be patient with yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
There will be times when you slip up,
Sure.
when that anger monster rears its ugly head.
It happens.
Don't beat yourself up about it.
Right.
Just acknowledge it, learn from it, and get back on track.
It's like learning to ride a bike.
Exactly.
You're going to fall a few times before you find your balance.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
Oh, that's true.
Talk to friends, family, or a therapist,
Yeah.
Having a support system can make a world of difference. I agree. This has been so helpful. I feel like I have a much clearer understanding of how to, approach anger management now.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm starting to see anger as something I can actually work with,
That's the goal.
not just something I need to, suppress or
Yep.
avoid.
It's about understanding it, harnessing its energy,
Right.
and using it as fuel for growth and positive transformation.
That's a great way to put it. It's like anger can be a catalyst for change,
It can.
not just a negative force to be reckoned with.
I like how you're thinking about it.
Thanks to this book.
Well, it sounds like you're well on your way to taming your own anger monster.
I hope so.
Remember, it's an ongoing journey.
Right.
Be patient with yourself. Celebrate those small wins.
Okay.
And never stop learning and growing.
This has been an incredibly empowering deep dive.
It's been great exploring this with you.
I feel so much more equipped to deal with anger now.
Awesome. I think we've covered just about everything.
We have, and to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to check out How to Control Your Anger Before It Controls You by Albert Ellis and Raymond Tafrate.
It's a great resource.
It really is, full of insights and practical strategies that can truly help you transform your relationship with anger.
It's worth a read for sure.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
Until next time, keep diving deep, and remember, you have the power to create a life you love.
Take care, everyone.